Okay, so you have gotten through a few of these lessons now, and now it's time to get into some meat. Let's talk about guidelines for facilitating a connection group. The first guideline is this: relationships are the highway that faith travels on. Let me say that again. Relationships are the highway that faith travels on. See, there can be a temptation to try and make every single moment spiritual in a connection group. And while there is a need to understand, and there's a need for people to grow in their depth of spirituality and their relationship, the relationship to each other in the Bible, the reality is how you grow and how I grow has always been on the back of relationships. If you think about the most important person in your life who's made the biggest difference, that person has also had a huge impact relationally on you, not just spiritually, but they've had a relational impact on you. There's an old adage that says people just don't care how much you know until they know that you care, and I really believe that that's true. So the first one is just relationships are the highway that faith travels on. The second guideline for facilitating a connection group is to ask questions, don't answer them. Let me say that again. Ask questions, don't answer them. One of the biggest temptations you will experience leading a group is to ask the question, and then immediately everybody's silent, nobody's talking, and your temptation will be to answer the question. Here's the problem. The reason they're silent is because they're thinking of answers. And the moment you start talking is the moment they stop thinking. And so if you are always answering the question that you just asked, the problem for you will be that your group will stop answering questions and they'll just wait for you to answer the question for them. So here's what you do. You've got to learn to live and be okay with silence. And then if you don't get an answer right away, just try rephrasing the question or explaining it better. But don't ever answer it until you've gotten a few answers from them. And even then, be careful about answering, because people will start to look at you as the specialist who they think knows everything, and they'll be embarrassed to try to answer if you're always the one giving the answers and always standing out. The third guideline for facilitating a connection group is a very practical one. Never be alone with a member of the opposite sex. I'll say it again. Never. I mean never be alone with a member of the opposite sex unless it's your spouse, and then by all means be alone with them. But in all seriousness, in our society, there's just too much danger and potential for allegations of inappropriate activity. And so I'm asking you to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Protect your integrity and never be alone with a member of the opposite sex that isn't your spouse. And this is just vitally important. So what do? Somebody shows up, your wife or your husband is at the store picking up the last few things for the group. If somebody shows up and they just happen to be single, maybe stand out on your porch and talk to them and just explain. Just say, you know what, I've made a commitment to my wife or my husband or my future wife, my future husband. I made this commitment to God that I'm just not ever going to be alone with a member of the opposite sex. And that protects you. It puts you in a position where other people can see, and where it just goes a long way to protect you, because Satan does not play by the same rules you and I play by. Number 4, the fourth one is this: be an agent of unity. Be an agent of unity. Groups can easily turn from producing good fruit to producing gossip and grudges. And so I want to ask you to be quick to spot potential comments and threads of disunity and redirect the group by helping them choose to speak to the person that the problem exists with, and reminding them that one of the last things Jesus prayed for was the unity of believers. This one particular issue can destroy ministry and groups and churches even faster than anything else, is when we lose the unity that Jesus prayed for us about. And so I'm just asking you to be an agent of unity. Be looking for disunity, squashing it, helping people get to the appropriate people when they have issues. It's okay to have issues. It's okay to have problems. But to sit in your group and to be discussing those without ever bringing in the people that you're discussing it about, that's called gossip. And so we just want to squash that and get rid of it, and have these groups be productive agents in helping people become better disciples and followers of Jesus. The fifth one is this: everyone in the circle. The fifth guideline is this: everyone in a circle. What this means is that you need to always sit in a circle with your group. Don't allow people to be outside of that circle. Now, I know it seems kind of funny, but it really is true that when you have people sitting outside of the main circle, it creates an unnecessary psychological barrier for the participants. Circles always create attention, they create focus. It allows everyone to see each other's faces and engage with the discussion as a whole. And that's why circles are better than rows. If you don't do this, somebody sitting outside of the circle, guess what? Part of the time, they're going to be looking at the back of somebody's head and not engaging with that person like they could. Number six, everyone in a chair. Now I know this seems silly too, and it's not vital, but it is important to think about. Chairs provide structure and boundaries. They allow people to be comfortable. If somebody's sitting on the floor, especially a larger person like myself, if I'm sitting on the floor, my back's going to start to hurt. My legs are going to start to fall asleep. It's going to be hard for me to be a good listener and stay engaged. Now, it's not always important. Sometimes a mom may want to be on the floor to kind of keep her child distracted or whatever. So don't force people, but make sure that you have chairs for everyone to sit in. We even like to have an extra open chair so that you know that it's okay to invite a friend to our group and to get somebody new who's not following Jesus to come be a part of our group. So being in a chair will just help make people a better listener. Guide the conversation. This is number 7. Guide the conversation. Sometimes small group discussions are really magical. Like you'll just see the heavens open up and people start to discuss things that you just never thought they would. But sometimes it can feel a little like pulling teeth. And so I just wanted to give you a couple quick suggestions on how to handle various types of problems that you encounter in your group. You can look in your training manual to see, like, go deeper on all these, but I just want to give you a quick heads up on a few of these. Sometimes you'll have somebody who I call the talker. The talker is the individual who just talks and dominates the group. And so what you can do is just, if somebody's dominating all the time, just address it real simply by saying something like, "Hey, thanks, Joan. Let's hear from some of what everybody else is saying. I'd love to hear, Stan, what you're thinking about this." So you can just direct the group. If you continue to have problems with the talker, it may be good to just pull them aside and say, "Hey, I love the insight that you bring to the group, but I really need to be able to hear everybody else too. So can you help me make sure that everybody's getting a chance to talk?" So just kind of bring them into that. Sometimes you have somebody who I call the needy person, and I don't say that in a way to be mean-spirited, but it's just the reality. There are some people who are more needy than others. They need more attention. They will tend to try to manipulate other people's emotions in the group, dominate the conversation, that kind of stuff. So when this begins to happen in your group, you need to be quick to manage it. This individual is trying to get attention. That's really all they want, and they're really taking attention from the rest of the group. And what will happen is, if you continue to let it happen, is you'll find that the rest of the group will become kind of disinterested. So when a needy person brings up an issue, we don't shoot them down. We don't not love them. We don't push them away. But we are intentional about saying things like, "Hey, Billy, it sounds like you're really going through some crazy stuff right now. How about you and I talk about this after group tonight?" And what you do is you're not minimizing Billy's issues, but you're also saying to the rest of the group, "I still want to hear from you guys." And so it allows you to care for Billy, but also care for the rest of your group. Sometimes you'll get the silent treatment from people. And when you get the silent treatment, there's a bunch of different reasons for this, but about 70% of the time, the issue is that you as a leader are doing too much talking. And so just goes back to what we talked about earlier with the asking the question of being silent. If people are being silent, it's a good indicator that you yourself need to be more silent. And so I just really encourage you to take a look if people aren't talking enough. Sometimes it can be the questions or the materials just not great discussion material, and that's okay. Feel free to throw that stuff away and go to something else. There is another type of personality that you might encounter. I call them the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is somebody who is not interested in what you have to say. And they'll try to move the conversation on the group at a pace that's different than what you want. Now, hopefully you don't have this in these kind of small groups, but occasionally you have somebody maybe who's a husband who doesn't want to be there, and or a spouse that maybe she just got in a fight with her husband on the way there, and she's kind of upset, and she doesn't want to talk about what you're talking about. And so you have to find a way to kind of get them back engaged. And what you have to do with these gatekeepers gatekeepers is kind of step up and take charge. And you can do this in several ways. The best way, I think, is to try to personalize questions and bring people back into the discussion. So you might personalize it and say, John, how about you? Is there a way that you've seen this play out in your own family? Another way is to maybe grab their attention and kind of shock them and say, Nick, do you seriously believe that Jesus' death on the cross 2,000 years ago can make any difference in my life today? Like, that kind of question shocks people. It makes them stop trying to focus the group on themselves, and it forces them back into this discussion mode where they have to actually start thinking and re-engage. And so hopefully that's helpful for you. I just have a few more for you real quickly. The jokester. This is the person that's always trying to deflect, and they're trying to tell jokes. And I think it's okay to just say to them, hey, you're one of the funniest people I know. You make me laugh a lot. I just wondered if you could help me out and help, like, bring it back around to the group. Like, let's also be willing to talk about serious things. It is one of the biggest things about leading a group like this is it's okay to talk to people individually and to actually address the concerns you have. You don't have to address it in a way that's mean-spirited, but you can address it in a way that says, I care about you. I see a lot of potential in you, and I was wondering if you could use some of that potential to help lead other people deeper in their relationship with Jesus. There are several more of these in your guide. I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but I would really encourage you to just look through that and read through them, because there's lots of helpful information in there. But here's the bottom line with all of these ways to facilitate your connection group, is that if you don't manage the situations, they will always manage to kill your group. And that's really the truth. If you don't manage these situations, they will always manage to kill your group. And so this is really one of those moments where you step up to the plate, and you just say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to manage this. Now, here's the good news. You're not doing this alone. So if you're struggling with one of these situations, it's getting out of control, please don't keep that to yourself. Get in with one of our huddles. Talk to one of your leaders about how to manage it. Get some coaching from one of us on staff, and let's help you figure out how to manage these situations and do the best job that you possibly can at your leading your connection group. I know that you can do this. We trust and believe in you, and we believe that God's put you in this position. And it's one of the most exciting things you'll find is when you start to really get in the groove of leading these groups and loving people and helping them build that trust, build their friendship, build their faith. Man, it's unlike anything else that you'll experience. And so I believe you can do this. And man, anything we can do to help you, just let us know.